Now let's talk about today's business matters. Another tech giant has entered the quantum chip space. Amazon has debuted its first ever quantum computing chip. It's called Ocelot. Amazon says the chip solves a key problem in quantum computing. The company says this is an important step for quantum computing systems, which could solve calculations that would take classic computers years to complete. In classic computing, information can only be represented as a 0 or a 1, while in quantum computing, information can exist in more variations. Microsoft and Google have both recently unveiled their own chips. And Elon Musk says Verizon's efforts to provide a critically needed upgrade to the FAA's air traffic control system is failing, and it's important that Starlink take over. Starlink is a unit of SpaceX, Musk's satellite and rocket company. Verizon has a $2.4 billion contract to provide a long-sought upgrade to the FAA's communication system. It's known as the FAA Enterprise Network Services, or FENS, program. Asked about Musk's statement, the FAA issued a statement saying, regarding the FENS program, no decision have been made. This week, the agency confirmed it is testing 3 Starlink terminals. Verizon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. France wants in on Ukraine's deposits of critical minerals. Today, the nation's defense minister said that negotiations have been underway for months. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected at the White House tomorrow to sign a minerals deal with the United States. President Donald Trump made the announcement yesterday. The rare earth elements that both the U.S. and France seek are critical for various technologies. Lithium for batteries and uranium for nuclear power, medical equipment, and weapons, to just mention a few. And France's defense minister added that the possible purchase of minerals from Ukraine would not be intended as repayment for military and other aid. Trump has suggested that the emerging deal is a way for Kyiv to repay the U.S. for its support. Warner Bros. Discovery has laid out a path to 150 million streaming subscribers by the end of the year. The entertainment giant reported that global streaming subscribers climbed to nearly 117 million last year for Max and Discovery Plus. Revenue for the segment rose 5%, and at the same time, Warner Bros. Disclosed a $9 billion goodwill impairment charge in the network segment last year. In a note to shareholders, the company said that linear TV advertising has deteriorated faster than they expected. WBD reported that overall revenue fell 2% to $10 billion. Fast food workers in California could be bringing home more bacon. The council who oversees minimum wage is considering a cost of living adjustment. The state already introduced the first of its kind $20 minimum wage for fast food workers last year. It's now considering bumping that up to $20.70. Advocates say the increase is needed for rising costs of living, while businesses and business owners argue not enough time has passed since the last increase, which already increased prices and reduced jobs. California's Fast Food Council's next meeting to discuss this is expected in April or May. Now, in the rough and rumble of football, tackle football to be specific, family amenities are scoring big with NFL players. The NFL Players Association has released its annual team report cards. These offer a glimpse into the players' quality of life. The union says they have also helped improve conditions for players by making some of their key grievances public. One area of improvement across several teams was family services. This includes game day daycare, family rooms, and other amenities. This year, the top teams were the Miami Dolphins and Minnesota Vikings, while the Arizona Cardinals and New England Patriots scored the worst. Streaming wins weighed down by TV losses. A continued erosion of cable audiences resulted in Paramount Global missing fourth quarter estimates. Declines in linear advertising and fewer sporting events on CBS dragged down revenue in the TV media segment. On top of that, its filmed entertainment division posted an adjusted operating loss of $42 million. Its streaming service, though, Paramount Plus, added 5.6 million subscribers during the quarter. At the same time, a memo seen by Reuters reveals that Paramount is ending its diversity programs due to the Trump administration's efforts to end them. Google will be paying to police itself. Canada plans to impose a fee on the search giant to recover the cost of enforcing the Online News Act. The new law requires internet platforms to pay for news content that appears on their websites. The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission said the vast majority of its operations are funded by these kinds of fees. The cost recovery will start in April. The commission said the charge for may vary year to year and has no maximum. Google has already agreed to pay publishers $100 million a year to keep news stories that is in search results. Meta decided to block news from its sites to avoid payments. The State Department yesterday announced sanctions on 6 entities in China and Hong Kong that are connected to Iran's drone and missile programs. The move is part of President Trump's maximum pressure campaign on the Iranian regime to stop its weapons supply. This comes just a couple of days after the U.S. imposed a fresh round of sanctions on Iran's oil industry, which is their primary source of revenue. Earlier this month, the Trump administration put financial sanctions on an international network they say ships Iranian oil to China. Meanwhile, there may be a few cracks in the U.S. job market, and this is according to the Labor Department. Roughly 242,000 unemployment claims were filed last week, and that is up 22,000 from the tally taken the week before, and was higher than many economists predicted. Part of the bump in joblessness comes from recently laid off federal employees. Now, moving on to NVIDIA, the company exceeded Wall Street expectations as it closed out 2024, posting stunning sales and profit growth. The chip-making giant yesterday released its earnings report for the quarter ended in January. It showed NVIDIA raked in nearly $40 billion in the January quarter. That is 78% higher than the same period in the prior year. For the full financial year, NVIDIA's profits more than doubled to $74 billion. The company says it's also expecting continued growth in the current quarter. NVIDIA's earnings report was being highly watched by Silicon Valley. The company is considered to be a bellwether for the broader tech sector, which has faced tough investor questions about spending on artificial intelligence. Southwest Airlines is now allowing travelers to book tickets on Expedia-owned websites. That includes not just Expedia, but also Travelocity, Hotwire, Orbitz, and Cheap Tickets. This is the airline's first partnership with a third-party booking site. Up until now, Southwest only allowed bookings through its own platforms. The carrier started listing fares on Google Flights in May, but you had to click through the airline website to actually book the ticket. Expedia said Southwest's full schedule should be bookable on Expedia platforms by the end of today. Britain's Rolls-Royce lifted its midterm targets to reflect its confidence in future profit growth after a plan to improve engines and cut costs helped its results beat expectations. Here's more.
Britain's Rolls-Royce lifted its midterm targets Thursday. Confidence for the future comes after the firm beat expectations last year with a profit of $3.1 billion. That was up 55% on the year before. Rolls-Royce, which works with plane makers Boeing and Airbus, said a cost-saving plan boosted profits. It further said it was helped by engine tweaks to ensure they can fly for longer before maintenance, and it had secured improved contract terms. The aerospace giant said it would meet its previous midterm targets this year, 2 years earlier than planned. It guided to midterm underlying operating profit of up to around $4.9 billion. The upgrade showed the progress made by Rolls-Royce since Tufan Ergin Bilgic took over as CEO 2 years ago. At the time, he said the company was a burning platform in need of a turnaround. The company also announced a dividend on Thursday and launched a $1.27 billion share buyback. Investors were happy with what they heard, and shares jumped 19% to hit an all-time high.
Warby Parker is going to open in-store shops at some Target stores. They will offer eye exams, vision tests, contacts, and prescription glasses that start at $95. 5 stores will open in the second half of this year in Illinois, Minnesota, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. with plans for more opening in the coming years. Target has other shop-in-shops in some of its locations. They include Apple, Disney, Levi's, and Ulta Beauty shops. It's been a slow start to the year for the fast food industry, so Subway has announced a plan to try to attract more customers. The sandwich chain is bringing back discounted footlongs. Beginning Friday, you can get any footlong sandwich at Subway for just $6.99. That's a big discount since some footlongs regularly cost as much as $14. But there is a catch. The offer is only available through the Subway app or website with a code, and is also only available for a limited time. An official said Mexico is weighing further trade measures to crack down on low-cost shipments into the country after slapping tariffs on purchases largely coming from China. The country's deputy economy minister said the objective is political and it's to crack down on contraband. Mexico's economy ministry in recent months has launched an offensive against cheap goods, mostly from China, including counterfeit products, which has entered under previous low-cost exemptions. In January, Mexico began taxing many such imports. Analysts called the move a bid to cut down shipments from e-commerce retailers such as Shein and Temu, some of which stop in Mexico before being sent to the U.S. Okay, on to markets. S&P 500 and Nasdaq ended sharply lower today, and it's weighed down by a slump in chipmaker Nvidia after its quarterly report failed to rekindle Wall Street's AI rally, while investors focused on data pointing to a cooler U.S. economy. So Nvidia dropped after the Silicon Valley company gave a weaker than expected quarterly forecast for gross margin that was overshadowed by an upbeat revenue outlook. Chip makers Broadcom and Advanced Micro Devices also fell, pulling the Philadelphia Chip Index down sharply. And that's all on today's Business Matters.